I have 3 words for you. Gungrave G.O.R.E. Gungrave G.O.R.E. is a total throwback to third-person arcade shooters from the early 2000s, with an edgelord anti-hero armed to the teeth blasting fools in the face for points and glory, filled to the brim with over-the-top violence and style from beginning to end. Leaving behind many of the modern trappings, this is a breath of fresh air and a welcome change of pace from the recent barrage of hero shooters, live service games, and nickel-and-dime game design. Though, there's a handful of rough spots, and the completion experience left room to be desired. But this is definitely a fun, bloody trip down memory lane and worth checking out. Developed by Studio Iggy Mob and released for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC in 2022, with the Switch getting Gungrave G.O.R.E. Ultimate Enhanced Edition in 2023, with over 100 improvements. What's up with that? It's no surprise that Gungrave G.O.R.E. feels like a PS2 era shooter, since the series was born on that console in 2002. This was followed up 2 years later with Gungrave Overdose, also on the PS2, that attempted to expand the gameplay and story to mixed results. In between, there was a short-lived anime series with all of the over-the-top carnage the series has been known for. And then, Gungrave lay dormant for well over a decade until Gungrave VR in 2017, showing there was still some life left in the series. Other than a new coat of paint, and at times not so new paint, this game feels like it belongs on the 6th console generation, from the characters to the simple but satisfying gameplay and the story. You play as Beyond the Grave, or just Grave for short, a gun-wielding badass with few words but many bullets, who alongside your LL Canel comrades are attempting to eradicate a mutagenic drug called Seed that's being spread by the Raven clan. So yeah, it's not like this is deep or hard to follow, and you definitely won't be lost if you're new to the series. Cutscenes rarely interrupt the carnage and mostly serve to explain why you're in a new location. But even then, it doesn't really matter. You're gonna kill everyone regardless. Shooting enemies always feels awesome, with solid impacts, generous auto-aim, and a heavy dose of style. Now, saying you shoot enemies isn't quite right. More like you utterly obliterate them. Yeah. And not just the enemies either. Everything, and I mean everything, is torn to pieces as bullets fly through each sewer, casino, and jungle with an almost gleeful barrage of destruction. You're armed with a pair of hand cannons, collectively called Cerberus, used for distance, and a coffin strapped to your arms called the Death Hauler, for getting up close and personal. There is nothing more metal than beating someone to death with a coffin. You can auto or manual fire, and trust me, you're going to want to keep it on auto for most of the game, unless you're looking to file a workman's comp claim and need carpal tunnel. The only time I ever switched to manual was for a powerful shot by holding down the trigger that can tear through shields. Nice. At the start of each stage, you're given one simple instruction: kick their ass. Hell yeah, and you know just what to do. There's a lot of arcade beat-em-up energy, where you could just butt mash your way through, but to really get the most out of the combat, you have to learn how to prioritize threats, manage crowds, and switch up your attacks based on what's coming your way. Which is easier said than done, since there's a lot. Like, a lot. For each hit, you'll add to the beat counter. Pause shooting for more than a second or two, and the beat counter resets. Now, anything you hit adds to the beat counter, whether shooting enemies, or exploding barrels, or hell, exploding trash cans. Yeah, pretty much everything freaking explodes. Once your beat counter hits 50, you can unleash a storm of bullets in every direction. And you want to get that beat counter up as high as possible to contribute to your score at the end of each stage. This system drives you to push forward and pay attention to your surroundings, looking for anything you can destroy. Now, you're not just looking to kill everything, you're looking to kill everything with artistic flair. As you take out foes with special attacks, finishers, or in Fury mode, you'll get art points that contribute to your overall score. After taking enough damage, enemies get stunned, opening them up for a finisher, letting you zip up to them or grab them at a distance to take them out execution style, or maybe turn them into a human shield. And when you have no more use for them, toss their corpse for one final insult. In G.O.R.E, you're a walking tank with separate health and shield meters. For most fights, as long as you're playing smart, your shield will regenerate automatically, with very little taken off your health. Now, if your health is low, don't expect it to regenerate automatically, and you won't find any health packs or anything like that. Everything is about combat, so the only way to refill your health is with some of your special attacks, like demolition shots using the Death Hauler. With each successful hit, you'll build your demolition shot meter. When full, you'll bank a shot, and as you progress, you can bank more and more shots. When ready, you can unleash one of these bad boys to absolutely wreck enemies and refill a small amount of your health. Even bosses are no match for the sheer power of these attacks. And each one has this over-the-top animation making you feel like a total badass. At the end of each stage, you'll earn DNA points based on your performance that you can use in the lab to upgrade Grave's base stats, add new skills, or add new demolition shots. Unless you're playing on easy, I would prioritize base stats. This game has some insane difficulty spikes, so being able to eat more bullets or dish out more pain is definitely a must. If you end up too weak in the later levels,
you're gonna have a bad time.
Just like your mom, the game gets more fun the more you play with it. For the most part. Where adding new skills and getting all beefed up just feels great. And it was always awesome seeing just what you've unlocked with a new demolition shot. Okay, let's talk about the difficulty. Fitting right into the old school design philosophy, this game is hard, like brutally hard at times. And I know hard, I've played a Souls-like before. See my Steel Rising review for my thoughts on difficulty. Now, the challenge here is uneven, with sudden spikes that can feel like a wall. This is particularly true on the harder difficulties, but I'd say even normal difficulty feels like hard in most other games. After finishing the game the first time, you'll unlock G.O.R.E difficulty mode, and good luck with that. Even after unlocking everything and maxing out Grave's stats, I found the hard difficulty to be really, hard. As you start to really understand the combat mechanics, you realize there's definitely more to it than it seems at first, and doesn't play like anything else out there today. So you'll have a lot of combat, and not much else. There's no exploration, or even if there was, there's no power-ups to find, no secrets to uncover, and no shortcuts to unlock. And even though you'll visit tons of different locations that look different, most don't play any different. At first I found myself wanting to search for more that just wasn't there, and I suspect many will find this monotonous after a while. To its credit, G.O.R.E attempts to mix things up at times with some light platforming and making 2 additional characters playable, but only for a few levels. Thankfully, the platforming is rare since Grave is not really built for it. He's slow and bulky, like awkwardly hurling a bag of bricks. The other characters are a nice change of pace with Bungie's nimble movement and faster shooting, or Quartz totally changing things up, focusing on melee instead of shooting. But they clearly weren't given as much love since they have far fewer moves at their disposal, though I did appreciate the changes. I really dug the visuals, even if they're a bit of a mixed bag. Gungrave has always had a cel-shaded anime aesthetic, and while the default look is more realistic in G.O.R.E, you can toggle a cel-shaded art style if you want something closer to the original. At times the game is really striking, with over-the-top animations, flash and spectacle that tend to hide any rough spots. When things slow down, like in the cutscenes, you get a better look at the inconsistent quality of the textures, often looking like they were ripped straight from the PS3. I have to say though, most of the main character designs are great, with Grave being the clear standout. His design is freaking killer, with the gothic leather jacket, non-stop hand cannons, and transforming coffin weighing down his arms. The bosses from Raven Clan are also fantastic, many with multiple stages that change up their looks and tactics. The fodder enemies were far less impressive. With such an over-the-top main character, I just wish the developers would have gone all in on the insanity with the enemies. you'll be fighting thousands of nondescript agents, soldiers, and construction workers. Sure, there's the odd giant worm, or some bigger mutant types called Orgmen, but it feels like wasted potential. The levels are really varied, but also quite grounded, as you traipse all over a bunch of Southeast Asian places like Hong Kong, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Singapore, all of which make a great backdrop for all of the carnage Grave leaves in his wake. Now the audio is interesting. The music is this eclectic mix of jazzy riffs, drum and bass rhythms, and over-the-top action scores, injecting a lot of energy throughout. The composer team of Yoshino Aoki, Shoya Kitagawa, and Ren Tsukagoshi have a long track record of games under their belt, from the RE4 remake to Final Fantasy XV, so it's no surprise that the music hits way more than it misses. The rest of the audio design is wild. This is by far the most aggressive use of the DualSense's speakers, and as far as I can tell, there's no way to turn this off. So you know how in tons of games you get some radio chatter or some other limited sound that comes out of the controller speaker? Well, in G.O.R.E, the developers asked, why not just run half the sounds through the controller? At first, it's kinda cool as the sound just fills the game room, but this creates a disconnect. So like the gunshots come out of the TV, but the sound of the things you hit come out of the controller. But the gunshots should originate closer to you than the thing you shot across the room. Am I making any sense? I feel like a crazy person trying to explain this. Okay, let's say you want to turn down the volume. Normally, you just turn your TV down. But here, your controller will still blast out full volume. And there's no volume just for the controller in the game. So if you want to turn down the controller speaker, you either need to adjust the volume in the PS5 menu or turn down the master volume in the game menu. Cool attempt, but wacky execution. Okay, when I review games, I generally go for 100% completion. Not only does this give me a fuller picture of the game, but it also sets me apart from the countless others who base their reviews on only a small taste of the game. The completion process for this game is rated as fairly hard, and I'd actually disagree with that. But that doesn't mean it was easy. Let me explain. You see, there were two aspects to completion that really rubbed me the wrong way. First are the difficulty-related trophies that don't stack. In most games, if you finish the game on normal, you'll also get the easy trophy too. Well, not here. No, you have to finish full runs on easy, normal, and hard difficulties. So after my first run on normal, I still had 2 more runs, and one that was far too easy by that point since all of your upgrades carry over to each subsequent run. And that brings me to my other gripe about completion. You have to max out all of your upgrades, skills, and demolition shots.
Pretty standard, really.
Yeah, I'm used to that, but even after 3 full playthroughs, that's 31 stages each run, for a grand total of 93 levels, I still hadn't unlocked everything. And that's because one upgrade in particular requires an insane amount of DNA points. So even after 3 full playthroughs, I still had to grind levels over and over to finally unlock it. It was clear this was all about padding the runtime without contributing to a more complete overall experience. So expect around 7 hours for a single run and 20 to 25 hours for the platinum. For most of that runtime, I really enjoyed myself. I loved the throwback feel to this game. It was a breath of fresh air to boil everything down to the fun of blasting tens of thousands of fools in the face. And yeah, while it doesn't have cutting-edge visuals, an open world, or tons of different mechanics, it doesn't need them. Gungrave excels when it focuses on the pure joy of turning someone into a red mist. We need more games that are just about fun. And while I was disappointed by the completion process, I still think this is a bloody good time. Alright, you've heard my take on Gungrave G.O.R.E, and I'd love to hear yours as well. If you liked the video, hit like and of course subscribe. And if you want another game that you haven't played, check out my video right here. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.